Hey, it's me, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, aka the Commissioner of the World Movie League, and welcome back to another episode of the World Movie League. This one will be a bit of a different episode. It's going to be a quick fire knockout round, going through all of the Group D matches today. And so we're going to have got literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies all going up against each other. Only 4 are going to go through to the next round of the World Movie League competition. Some big hitters in this one today, so I can't wait to get to it. But let's get to it. Let's go through it. Let's give an introduction first of all. Some of the movies we're going to feature in this episode. We've got Superman versus The Dark Knight, Watchmen versus Thor, Black Panther versus Kick-Ass, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original movie 1990 versus Aquaman. Some big hitters. Pretty much all movies I really enjoy as well, so it's going to be a hard one, but I'm looking forward to this. So this one, like I said, the rules are going to be slightly different to the other episodes of the World Movie League episodes. I'm going to go through the movies, and this time it's just going to be which one I think is going to go through to the next round. Quick fire, let's get through this. Let's get to the next round, this competition. Let's get these movies into this next round. Let's go for it. So let's get to match number 1. Match number 1, as I said at the beginning, Superman versus The Dark Knight. Christopher Reeves in the classic 1978 Superman movie. Honestly, superb movie, great movie overall, superb score. A movie I don't have a ton of nostalgia for. I would watch it a lot. I'd say a lot. I think for me, it was always Batman growing up for me. I think I was always a Batman guy. I don't think I've ever truly been a Superman guy until Man of Steel come about. But definitely one I would watch growing up. Not to say I was a hardcore watcher of it, but yeah, a superb film. And you think that is the superhero movie. Without that, some people some people would argue maybe Batman, Tim Burton's Batman were superhero movie kicked off, or maybe Spider-Man movie. But really, that is the first real big budget, big blockbuster superhero movie, Superman. Christopher Reeves is obviously amazing. He was brilliant in that role. Really just made for that role, really. And the differences between him when he would go from Clark Kent to Superman is really very significantly different. And even when you look at the likes of Cavill or and I don't know what this new incarnation of Superman's going to be like, but he went from being this really very nerdy. I suppose nerdy is the wrong word now, because I'm very much a nerd. But just very, he had the glasses on, kind of a bit of a goof, just kind of a bit dozy, and then he goes into being Superman, who's this big, all the hair slicked back, and he is the ultimate male, basically. Then on the other side of things, we have, and let me just also say as well, John Williams' score, man, who doesn't enjoy listening to that score, especially just the theme song? Unreal. Superb. I think that's another thing, that so, you just hear that and it's do you know when you hear the psycho music, you hear that, dun, dun, the string, is it the strings or whatever it is? As soon as you hear that, it's yeah, Superman. I think everyone knows it, even if you've never watched that movie. You hear Superman music, you're yeah, it's Superman. Again, another big part. I think just everything aligned with this movie. Great cast, great direction, and great music, great visuals for the time anyway. Next, we go to 2008. We fast forward a bit into the future, and we see the Dark Knight movie. Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne and Batman, and we have Heath Ledger join the cast as the Joker this time. And this is the second movie in the Dark Knight trilogy. I remember watching this at the cinema and just walking out. This is one cinema trip I just truly remember walking out and being wow, this is phenomenal. Such a phenomenal movie, great movie. Just the tone of it, everything was great. The first movie was brilliant, Batman Begins, but the sequel just upped it up. The level of filmmaking from Christopher Nolan, the score, the practical effects, the character of the Joker obviously was a big one, I think, for myself and for a lot of other people. He made that movie for a lot of people. Heath Ledger's performance, and then obviously then him passing away before the movie came out, was obviously brought a lot more spotlight to that movie as well. But I think it was creatively, artistically, just a phenomenal movie. So putting these two against each other, and like I said, and you know, Dark Knight I do have a lot of nostalgia for, because it's a movie I enjoyed watching. I remember watching it at the cinema, and one I've watched a lot more times, different than Superman. And you know what, it was a hard one in the sense that Superman, there was a lot of respect from me for that movie, like I said, because it is like the ultimate first. Without that, I don't think it's hard to, like, what would have been, if there was no Superman movie, what would have been the first superhero movie? Would it have been in the 80s? Would it have been 79? What character would we have seen a Batman movie earlier? Maybe. I'm sure, like, I don't think it's a case where we would never have not seen a superhero movie, because comics were obviously very, a popular media source, and obviously years into the future it was bound to happen at some point. But what would have been the first superhero movie? Would it have been another Superman movie years later? Or it's hard to say. I love playing that, like, what if, really. And like I said, it's so much respect for that movie. But for me, The Dark Knight, for me, what it wins through is I suppose a nostalgic connection to it. A bit of just, I love that villain of the Joker. It's just a standout character. I think the characters, for me, stand out a lot more in Dark Knight. And it's kind of weird when you watch The Dark Knight and you think about The Dark Knight. It feels like it is more of a Joker movie. And you feel like it is his movie more than Batman's movie. But I don't think it takes away. I still enjoy Christian Bale's performance as Bruce Wayne, as Batman in this movie as well. But yeah, for me, it's got to be The Dark Knight. From the opening. The opening scene is phenomenal. I love the opening. Very much vibes of like movies like Heat for me, which is a classic movie. It's great. So for me, as much as the respect I have for Superman, The Dark Knight goes through to the next round. Next up, we have Watchmen, 2009 release, Zack Snyder directed, versus Thor, the 2011 movie starring Chris Hemsworth. Let's talk about Watchmen first of all. It's a movie I don't think I watched initially. I think I remember getting the DVD and then really watching the DVD and just absolutely enjoying it, really enjoying it. Then I ended up buying like the graphic novel. Also, if you know, Watchmen's based on a graphic novel. Phenomenal graphic novel. Very much an adult comic, not a comic for kids. The movie again is, I think it's like rated R. And the graphic novel's great. And I don't know what people's views are on this, but I feel like it just translate from graphic novel to movie phenomenally well. I think it translates really well. I think it's just a superb adaptation. I know there's been other adaptations. I know they did like a TV show adaptation of Watchmen years later. I never watched that because for me, the movie version, the live action was enough for me personally as a fan of that graphic novel. I thought it was phenomenal. I know like they're doing an animated version soon, and I think I'd be interested in watching maybe an animated version, but still, the live action movie was hard to top, really hard to top. Superb film, and yeah, something I really, really do enjoy. The characters are great. Like I said, it's a very darker tone than your other superhero movies, but it also feels a bit like over the top as well. With Dr. Manhattan, it's there's lots of things in it where it doesn't feel like a Dark Knight where it's in that realistic universe. It feels realistic to a certain degree, but it also feels very fictionalized, a universe, and I love it. It's just a very gritty place to be in that universe of Watchmen. But yeah, it's phenomenal. You got this group of vigilantes. They've been hiding for years, and then they come out to solve a mystery. And great movie, great cast. Now we move over to Thor. Now this is a point where they're releasing, the Iron Man movie. I remember the announcements where they're going to do like Captain America, they're going to do Iron Man, they're going to do Thor. And at that point, if I'm being honest, I wasn't really too familiar of Thor, the character. I've heard the name before, but I'm never really aware of it. So never didn't know the lore of the comic book character, and obviously the link to the gods and the Norse gods and stuff like that. So I never really understood any of that. And I really enjoyed Iron Man, and I don't know what the release schedule was. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was like Iron Man, Hulk. I'm pretty sure Captain America came before around the same time. Maybe it was after, but Thor, I kind of indifferent. The four movies are a tough one. Look, with this competition, we're judging it on that movie, not the sequels. I think in the trilogy of Thor movies, the third one, Ragnarok, is absolutely a 10 out of 10 movie. I loved it. I loved the vibe of that movie. It balanced comedy, action, everything. It had a great score. But that character is night and day from the character it was in the first Thor movie and the second one. It felt like it needed a shift from that third movie. And again, it's not a knock on what it was in the first movie. I think the first Thor movie was a decent movie, but it's very forgettable for me. Full transparency, I've not watched some of these back more recently. I've watched them in recent years, but even in recent years of watching Thor, maybe like watching in the last year or so, it's not a movie that I'm like going, I can remember, like there's this memorable bit, there's this bit. I think the standout for me is more the casting and the characters. I think Loki and Thor, them two characters were well casted. I think they were brilliantly casted, and I think you kind of look at it like that. Like there's two really great castings that have great characters that have obviously done really well in the MCU. But putting it on its own, I think it is definitely part of the Phase 1 movies. It's definitely one of the weaker movies for me. I just think, as much as it's a fun movie to watch, there's some great action, there's some decent action in there, and it's got a good cast of people in there as well. But it just doesn't deliver that many memorable moments for me personally. And I think that's where it's lacking, this Thor movie. It just didn't have them memorable moments where you go like, wow, that's something I'd want to watch back because it was really cool, that. So for me, with these two, and let's just cross back over to Zack Snyder. Obviously, Watchmen was a movie first time really being introduced to Zack Snyder's films, which was really cool. And I really like him as a director. And I think this is probably the movie where I was pulled in by him as a director, thinking, wow, this guy's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool director. His direction, he has a vision, and he once he makes his vision, he pulls the trigger on it. So for me, which movie's going through? It may seem obvious, but I think I'm going to go for Watchmen. I think it's a really cracking movie. Again, I like Thor, but there's not enough memorable moments in there for me. If it was for Ragnarok, it would be a much harder decision, I'm telling you that. But yeah, that's it. Watchmen goes through to the next round. Hey Mouse Cheer, it's me, Movie Cheer. Just a quick one. Have you seen Buck Skull Going Anywhere? I've not seen him in a couple of episodes, and you did make a small threat to him a few episodes back, and just getting a bit worried, a bit anxious to where he is at the moment in time. Oh, he swim with the fishies. Well, that's a bit surprising, because I didn't know he liked the aquarium, but, well, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it, yeah. You have a nice day as well. Thank you. You're a nice guy. Movies, pretty movies. Next up, we have Black Panther taking on Kick-Ass. But I have a question. Which movie will truly kick the other movie's ass? See, it was a joke because one of the movies is called Kick. Forget it. Let's go to the next match. So, Black Panther versus Kick-Ass. Black Panther released in 2018, starring the late Chadwick Boseman. And then you have 2010 release of Kick-Ass, starring Nicolas Cage, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Chloe Moretz. both really different movies. Both, obviously one a big budget Marvel movie, more the other one based on an independent comic, Kick-Ass. Both very different movies. Both fantastic films as well. Both really solid movies. So let's start off with Black Panther. Obviously Chadwick Boseman, he passed away. I think was it after between. I think it was after the Infinity War movie, wasn't it? So he never starred in Black Panther 2, and obviously they wrote a story around his passing. But this movie, I remember watching him in I think it was in, I always forget which one. I think he was in either Civil War or Winter Soldier. That's where he made his first appearance. I always forget. I get them two movies. I get confused up with them two. I'm pretty sure it was I think it was Civil War. But he made his first appearance, and straight away I was impressed by the character. I didn't know much about the character. I'd seen visuals and comics and stuff like that over the years, but didn't really know much about the character. Then you watch this, and it's like obviously this secret nation, Wakanda, where they've got all the super high tech. Kind of feels like it's like he's like James Bond meets superhero, and it's obviously a bit of like, it reminds me a bit of like the Lion King a bit as well, like the passing of like the king dies and then the new king, and the circle of life, because you got obviously all the previous Black Panthers when he goes into that sort of like that chamber bit, and it reminds me a bit like when Simba's like talking to Mufasa, he's like speaking to the gods, and the Black Panthers, he's speaking to the previous Black Panthers. Some really great elements from different movies that I really appreciate, what I really enjoy. He was just a superb casting for this role. I like him as T'Challa. I like the character Black Panther, and I like the tone of this movie as well. It's a really well made movie. I think the great tone and the exploration of going into Wakanda. Seeing this, it feels like a really cool like secret city. It doesn't just feel like a standard city. It feels like this really mysterious, magical, cool place. Also this super high tech place as well. But yeah, great movie, and I'd heard loads of great things about this going into this, and watched it, blown away by it. I thought it was a phenomenal movie. Move over to 2010 release of Kick-Ass, and not a movie I watched straight away. Heard great things about this, ended up watching it, thought it was brilliant. Obviously Nicolas Cage in there, Aaron Taylor-Johnson as the main guy, Kick-Ass. It's basically, it's this guy, no superpowers. He decides to become a vigilante, and then it opens the world to other vigilantes, and you see all these things happening. And it's, again, this is I think it's it's definitely an R-rated movie, this one. This is not a movie you take your kids to go and see, is it? Definitely not. But it's what I like about Kick-Ass. It is so different to other superhero movies. I don't even know if you can really call it a superhero movie as such. It's more of I'd probably put it in like a subgenre, a vigilante movie. But yeah, great movie. I think both of them Kick-Ass movies are brilliant. I think they are both really good. I think they were on about doing a Kick-Ass 3, but it never got around to doing it. Now they're on about doing like a reboot. It's a shame, because I think I'd like to really see a Kick-Ass 3 with this cast. But you look at Aaron Taylor-Johnson, he's actually went on to becoming a superhero in other movies. He's joined the Marvel. He played Quicksilver in the Marvel movies. He's also playing in Sony's Marvel universe, Kraven the Hunter, in their movie, in his own solo movie. So, and he's obviously bigged up he's highly tipped to be the next James Bond as well, this guy. And looking at this movie, you wouldn't really put him down as a James Bond sort of casting, but he's really done loads of movies since his Kick-Ass movie, and he's a really good actor. And I think this must be one of his first movies, or one of his first movies where he's like one of the the big names on. But yeah, great movies, both of these. And again, this is a really hard one to choose. And going into this, I'm thinking like, oh, this one's got this one's got that. What I will say, I think both of these movies are full of great performances by the leads in both of these movies. And I think that's what the standout feature for me with both of these movies was. But for me, I've got to go with Black Panther. And just something about that movie, it was a different part of the Marvel universe. that we hadn't seen before, and it was again a character similar to what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. The character wasn't really well known, and they really fleshed out that character and made something really good and really made a great origin movie. But it wasn't. It was like straight into the action as well. What I like, because it wasn't like a true origin of telling you. It was more, you know, it was like just like straight into the story a bit more with Black Panther, which I really enjoyed. Great movie, and for me, it's the one going out through to the next round. As much as I enjoy Kick-Ass, Black Panther goes through. Now let's go to the final matchup of this World Movie League episode today, and we have the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie taking on Aquaman. 1990 movie Ninja Turtles and Aquaman, a 2018 release. First of all, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one I would watch growing up. I think this is probably a video shop movie maybe at some point as well. One I hadn't watched in years as well. I remember watching it growing up, and then years later, probably in like last maybe 5 years, not watching it for years and having memories of that movie and thinking I wasn't too sure how good that movie would have been. And I think I remember watching, they used to do Cinemassacre, the YouTube channel. They used to do video rentals, and it'd be the 4 guys talking about movie. And I'm pretty sure they had an episode where they discussed Ninja Turtles. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure, I think they definitely did. It's definitely that channel. And I was like, I've got to rewatch this. And I remember rewatching it and just being like, this is amazing. Obviously, very different from your more modern versions of Ninja Turtles, where you've got your CGI turtles. These are in the suits. They're in like actual, you know, they've made like proper like physical suits of the turtles. So it's a person in a costume basically. And you'd think that would be quite like cheesy now, and it would look a bit, just a bit silly. But it really doesn't. It looks brilliant. It looks fantastic. I actually prefer it to the CGI stuff, if I'm being honest. I think it looks phenomenal. And, you know, like, you've got a really badass villain in Shredder. The music's great. The tone of it's great. You know, it's not like I grew up watching the cartoon as well and collecting the toys. That Power Rangers and Turtles for me growing up was like 2 of my biggest jams. I used to like both of those. And watching this movie is very different from it feels like a lot of like a more like adult-y tone. I don't think it's like it's a movie that works for kids, but I think it's also now as a grown man I enjoy it even more. So it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. You see like the turtles, the kind of like the rise and fall and the rise again within this movie. It's brilliant. I think it's great them taking on the Foot Clan. Just a really well-made movie, and a movie that now is 34 years old is mind-boggling. It's phenomenal. It still stands the test of time for me, and I love it now. When you go to like I go to like Smith sometimes, the toy shops. I love looking at the wrestling figures, the movie figures, like Star Wars figures, and when I see the Ninja Turtles section, and you see like occasional like stuff that goes back to the original movie, and I know like the NECA toys, which are like the toys of the movie. It's great that this movie is still living on, and it goes to show that a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of love for this movie. It is phenomenal. Let's move to Aquaman now. So Aquaman 2018 release. This came after the Justice League movie, I believe. And Jason Momoa stars as Arthur Curry, Aquaman. The Justice League movie, the original cut, was not great. I think it wasn't a memorable movie, was it? It just didn't have that. It didn't have anything in it worthwhile. It was an okay movie, but it wasn't anything special. Aquaman, though, I think again a superhero character I'd heard of, but not really a character that is. I don't think Aquaman's a beloved character for anyone really, from what I gather. It feels like a bit of a joke. It's like this guy talks to fish. You see it like parodied on like stuff like Family Guy and all other stuff. And I think even in the Justice League movie, they take the mick a few times out of it. But it is a really solid movie. And I think what makes it is Jason Momoa. I think he's a really good casting for Aquaman. I think the visuals absolutely amazing. When underwater stuff is phenomenal. I think it's really great. And I think that's what I really do like about this movie is the underwater stuff. It's something very different. Those sort of scenes. And I'm sure you can say like, you know, the Avatar stuff now is probably a bit better. I've not seen that second Avatar movie, but I know the scenes in the underwater stuff, and that's meant to be phenomenal as well. But the stuff in Aquaman is really great. But I think the combination of that and Jason Momoa as this really charismatic superhero character really nailed it, and really nailed it as a good solo movie and a good effort from DCU, because I think they were coming off Justice League that wasn't really that successful and wasn't hugely popular with fans, and it was a shame because they had a really good cast with Ben Affleck, I thought. I think Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller were also good, not as on par as with Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa's castings though. Them two were phenomenal. They were both great, and they just delivered a real, you know, solid movie with this Aquaman character. And I'm pretty sure it did really well at the box office, this one. I've not seen the sequel. The sequel just didn't appeal to me as much. The trailers, what I saw of it, it just didn't look anything great. And I think the thing that didn't appeal to me the most was the idea that this universe is kind of like closing its doors for James Gunn's new DCU now. And that's where we're kind of like, it just feels like pointless investing time in watching this second Aquaman movie. And I heard about loads of reshoots, but taking it back to the first one, great film, great visuals, great characters, good villains, two solid villains in there. I think it's a great movie. Really do think it's a solid movie. And I think it is actually probably, out of the DCEU movies they've done, probably one of the better ones. I think it's up there with, I mean, it's probably, you've got Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman. I like the director's cut, the extended cut. I like that. Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, I'd probably put this in about fourth. And that's good standing, because I think it would be close to like some of them other movies as well. Really good movie. But which one wins through? Which one of these comic book movies goes through to the next round? Well, for me, nostalgia wins through. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wins through for me. I think it is, like I said, I love the visuals of that movie. I love the tone. I love the characters, the costumes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The effort that goes into the costumes in this movie, the makeup design is great. It must be like the animatronic suits and stuff like that. Great. And I think it's just a timeless movie. I think it is one of those movies is not, maybe some people would disagree, I think it's just a timeless movie. So far anyway, I think it's still, for a movie that's 34 years old, really stands the test of time. It's a really solid movie. So that movie goes through to the next round of this competition.
Hello everybody, it is me, Mouse Cheer, beloved member of Movie Cheer Town and the World Movie League. And now, I gotta say again, I'm pretty disappointed that no Disney movies have been included here. Where are all the Fox and Hound movies? Where are the Lion King movies? Where are all the Aristocats? That doesn't feel good to me, but I will go on with my plan to ruin this place. Every day I'm here, but before I do that, let's go to the results.
So the results for this episode, let's just run through them quickly again. So first of all, Superman versus The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight wins through on that one. Watchmen versus Thor. Watchmen goes through to the next round. We have Black Panther versus Kick-Ass, with Black Panther going through. And finally, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Aquaman. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990s classic, going through to that next round of the World Movie League competition. And that is it for another episode of the World Movie League. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Let me know your picks for this episode. Which movies do you think should have went through? What are your opinions on all these movies as well? like I said, a bit of a different episode today. Also, let me know your thoughts on this type of episode. A bit of a different way of doing this video and this World Movie League episode today. A bit more a quick fire round so we can get to them. That finale. Like we said, I said it on the last episode, we're going to finish the story of the World Movie League. We're going to find out which one is the World Movie League champion. It's been a great episode. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.